Okay, so for this video, I just kind of wanted to talk about like intrusive thoughts and sort of like my thoughts around like the nature of intrusive thoughts. So basically, like what I think happens with intrusive thoughts is that you basically like what is like the glitch, right? Like what is like the primary stimulus that leads to intrusive thoughts? Like what is like the thing that leads to like you trying to fight off thoughts? It's like someone who's like trying, like there's bugs underneath my skin and like they're trying to scratch it off, right? Like what leads to that, right? And the general theory that I've come up with is that these intrusive thoughts are basically like the glitch is basically your brain treats internally generated content as an external threat. And this is like the basic glitch that I believe is behind all intrusive thoughts. And like, because I mean, everyone has intrusive thoughts, but it's the response to them that I think that really matters and that makes them like so disturbing to some people, right? Is that because I mean, like I've driven down like the road and I've like seen people on the side of the road and I'm like, dang, I could crash into them right now, and I could send them to the hospital. Or like I've had like a kitchen knife in my hands. I'm like, dang, I could stab someone right now. Like the intrusive thoughts, right? Like those don't necessarily disturb me as much as some of the other ones. But basically, like the basic glitch is treating those intrusive thoughts as an external threat, because what happens is what happens is those thoughts pop up and you think, oh, okay, that's a bad thought, I should shove it away, I should like silence it. And but what ends up happening is you put more and more and more and more attention to that thought to try to drive it away, to try to fight against it. And the more you fight it, it's almost like your brain interprets this as, this thought is an external threat. It's a threat that comes from the outside. It's like someone's attacking you with a knife in a dark alley, but it's inside your head. It's internally generated, and so that's what reinforces like the negative thought loop. So that's my basic theory of what triggers intrusive thoughts, and like the solution to this, I would say, is essentially owning your power. Which like that sounds like the most like generic thing ever, but like owning the power to control your own mind, right? Owning the power to say, oh, okay, like I can control my mind, and I don't need to have these thoughts repeatedly pop up. And one of the ways that I've sort of figured out how to do this, how to like command my mind, is basically like you have one way of doing it, which is that you redirect your thoughts to other things. Basically, what you do is you drown out the negative thought pattern with a bunch of other stuff. Basically, like you basically occupy yourself with so many other things that like those thoughts go away. And this is like the one of the reasons to work out, right? Is that if you occupy your body with physical activity, it's like the voices stop because like you're trying to do push-ups, right? And I'm not saying voices in a schizophrenic term, but I'm saying like the intrusive thoughts that happen, right? You're so occupied with what it is you're doing that you don't have time to focus on that stuff, right? And it's the same thing with like getting obsessed with certain topics, right? It's like you're focusing on all the other stuff that it's like you're trying to it's like like stealing candy from a baby, right? It's like you're distracting and entertaining the mind with something else so that it doesn't so that it doesn't panic at this perceived threat, right? And another thing is, and this is something that happens over time, is to learning to own your power, to own your ability to control your thoughts, and that you don't have to think those thoughts. Like, and that sounds like I mean, easier said than done, right? And this happens over time, but saying like, oh, I don't need to think those thoughts, and like, oh, hey, like that's stupid. Like the negative self-talk that used to be a big thing in middle school. Whenever I was going through like a depression phase and everything like that, like I was depressed, I was getting bullied at school, right? The negative self-talk, like I've learned now to like it barely happens at all, but like the negative self-talk, like if that comes up, I'm like, man, shut up, like shut that shit up, right? Like the negative self-talk, like that doesn't help anyone, it doesn't do anything, right? And having that power over the mind and owning your power, having the authority, and because there are two ways of fighting, right? There's fighting as a victim or fighting as a victor, right? Fighting as an authority over your own mind, right? But yeah, I mean, yeah, those are some thoughts about intrusive thoughts.